Hey up YouTube. So as this video title suggests, if you can't handle the heat, get out the frying pan. A little bit of a play on words there, a little bit of wordplay from me. So what we're going to talk about in this episode is pressure, and I think being under pressure in certain circumstances it's good for me. So first off, when I say it's good for me, I don't like pressure from outside sources. As in, you know what it's like, customers deriding you to get jobs done, or where I used to work was a nightmare. It was pressure all the time, which I didn't need, which I didn't like. It was everybody ringing up the most, all the time, and there's always problems, and I'd take the job home with me. Didn't like it at all. That's one of the reasons why I am happy with the job that I do now. And don't get me wrong, there's stress and there's pressure all the time, but I'd say the majority of times it's either what I can manage or what I put myself through. And I think it's like, how as when we were monkeys, we've got this ingrained sort of fear of fire or bad things, but yet when we see it, we sort of want to go close and push its limits. Well, some of us might do, but you get what I mean. It's just the same as evolutionary. Certain animals go certain colours and bugs go certain colours to avoid certain things. Well, birds will still have a pop at it. And I think it's like me dancing around pressure. I don't like being under it, as in if it's out of my control or it's other customers putting me through it. But by and large, every so often I do put myself under pressure, and I think we need to sort of get to our goals that little bit quicker. It's the whole sort of analogy of, so relatives of mine, they're looking at moving out, but they're taking their time about it. They're still trying to have the their sort of quality of life and enjoy things and takeaways and all that sort of stuff. Won't go into it, but instead of, and it's taking them years and years to hit that goal, when in reality they could have 6 months or a year of cutting right back, cutting the cloth, so to speak, and then having not a torturous time, but going without the holidays, going without the takeaways. Still have probably not as much fun as they would, but in the grand scheme of things, they will get to their goal quickly as possible, as quicker, or even quicker, should I say. Instead of it taking them 3 years, it might take them 6 months to a year. And I think hardships is good. I think it teaches us. So for me, when I first went self-employed, and just the same with you guys, we all would have had it when we first go self-employed. I went without in my personal life for so long, in favour of putting money back into the business, in favour of putting money back into tools and equipment and vehicle. I know when before I went self-employed, I had the finance overdue on my van. Sorry, not overdue, but I had the option to pay it off early, but it was a big lump sum, and I tried as much as I could to hustle and work, not so much work overtime, but I definitely did the not having treats, not having stuff, going without to get it where, because I had a rough idea in advance I wanted to go self-employed, and I wanted to, when I went self-employed, I wanted to have as very little debt as possible, so I could, in my mind, if it not that it was failed, but if it took a while, well, I've got little expenses as possible. So I went without for so long, gave up certain things and didn't spend on certain things to pay off the finance, to when I did go self-employed, I was as, not debt free, but you know what I mean, as easy a time as possible. And like I said, it's, for a few years I went without for a lot, and would I say it's made me a better person for it? Well, we can debate that in the comments, but I think having the hardship and going without, for me anyway, it makes the rewards that little bit better, and when I get to that goal, that little bit more sweeter, if that makes sense. So and like I said, we all, when we go self-employed, we're all on the same sort of path, and maybe the pressure or thinking back to it or doing the early things could be better for us. So when I first went self-employed, I knocked on doors, door knocking, with very sort of mixed results. I put leaflets out, so I did both. I knocked on doors to give the leaflets to the customers, but I also gave leaflets to people, that were on the front garden. I did as much as I could to hustle as much work up as I could, and I had a lot of drive back then, if I'm being honest with you. Now, I'm going to speak for myself, but maybe for you guys, would you say you've got less drive now because you're comfortable? So I've got full books. I'll be honest with you, I've toned the advertising back. I'm spending a bit less and a bit more less time on the advertising. Sort of because I'm comfortable. I've got the work, I've got work coming in, I've got future work. But maybe you're the same, maybe you're not, maybe you're the opposite. And some people are. I listen to podcasts where people start off door knocking, start off leafleting, and they keep that up because they know it works, and they go from delivering, hand delivering 100, 500, 1,000 leaflets to, year in, year out, paying for more to be delivered, and bigger and better advertising. And what that does, it puts their business on a rapid trajectory up where they're getting as much work in as possible. And let's face it, as much as I moan about customers, and we all moan about customers, they're the lifeblood of this business. So maybe if I'd have kept up the door knocking or the leaflets, or maybe looked at paying Royal Mail X amount to deliver X amount of leaflets. Leaflets is a hard one. They always say it's notoriously low, but I'll be honest with you, I had good success when I started, and I was probably delivering into the hundreds, not thousands. And I'll be honest with you, I got work from it, and it was actually good work. I targeted places that I wanted to work. So if you can tell the lawn hasn't been cut for a bit, but it's not a jungle, I would take that on. If it is that you can tell that it's an absolute dump, and it never ever had any sort of effort, because even back then I could tell somebody just doesn't care about the garden. So if it's a mess and there's rubbish everywhere, then I just thought, I'm not even bothered, why would I? But it did work. So maybe if I'd have kept that up, it would have put my business onto more of a path. And maybe that's the point of this video, is for you guys to think back to where you were, and maybe revisiting the old things. But then again, maybe door knocking and leaflets is completely phased out in people's opinions now, more so for advertising on Facebook and Google. And I'll be honest with you, I can see the benefits to them. I'm all up for sitting on your bum advertising, or sitting in the van advertising, on your phone, opposed to trudging. And I'll be honest with you, door knocking or knocking on and giving leaflets, it wasn't so bad in the little bungalow villages where it was old people, so where it's just bungalows all the way around. I found bungalows were brilliant. You knocked on, yes, an old person come to the door, and they were miserable, but they'd be polite. They'd say, no, we've got a garden, we don't need you, thank you. I found once you started going on to the estates, and you were picking the houses that you thought, I had it where people would slam the door in my face. I had it where I'd put a leaflet through, and they'd literally push it through with their fingers back onto their drive. I had people where they were very confrontational about it. People thinking it was a scam. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to give you this leaflet, I'm going to walk off. You can decide. But you do see it, but ultimately it did lead to work. So, I've said before about dropping business cards off. I need to do that. I've got comfortable with what I've been doing, and I need to put myself back into that situation where I first started. So one of the things I'm going to do, I've got a load of business cards here. I've deliberately left them so I'm tripping over them all the time, and I'm going to pick a day next week and I'm going to put them all here, and I'm going to go and do what I did when I very first started, which is take a stack of business cards like that, and then every corner shop, every cafe, every pub, anywhere that you think people would have to wait, laundrettes, you know, stuff like that, even like little, and also as well pick shops, so knitting shops, craft shops. You know, I'm not saying it's all OAPs there, but I can imagine it's got a good bias towards the OAP population, and that seems to be my bread and butter. So I'm going to be dropping off these business cards to these people, and I think that's the best form. Okay, just said about door knocking, but I think it's better than that, because you're leaving a business card there, and that customer or potential customer is choosing to pick it up. It's like Facebook marketing, where they push it out to everybody, so you know everybody will see your advert in that area. But the Google one is a little, you know, other people do it where it's a little bit more targeted, as opposed to like a scattergun approach. With me, the business cards, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to do this, but people, if they want one, they pick it up. If they don't want, they leave it, and then the next person will pick it up. So another thing as well that I do, and this is more me, is I sort of stack things against me to give me the push to do it. So one of the things I'm doing at the moment is I've had some bills, and instead of putting them, tucking into the savings to pay for them, they're on a credit card. Now, I've talked about my credit cards in previous videos. I think credit card has a bit of a negative connotation with some people, and I think some people know about them and they know the benefit, and some people don't, and then they think it's a negative. And I was one of them. So I've always been brought up with debt's bad, debt's negative, credit cards negative, you don't want one, fees, they'll, you know, you basically, it's almost how I was brought up with. A different type of person uses a credit card, and you don't want to be that person. I've always been brought up to save. So I've always paid for things outright, even if I've had to tuck into my savings. Now, you know, I'm not saying everyone go out and get credit carded up, but for me, with doing that, I've ended up with an okay credit score. So my credit score is okay, and I used to think that was okay, but it isn't. The one above that's good, and I think the next one's excellent. I'm sort of smack bang in the middle to an extent. So it's actually led me to not get credit for certain things, which is really annoying. Now, like I said, I've not been in debt, I've not defaulted on things. I've just got an okay credit score because I pay for everything outright. So somebody said to me, get a credit card, and I got one where it's as long as you pay it back within 4 weeks, or when the statement comes through, you don't get charged. Now, in my little primitive monkey brain, I think to myself, well, I'm borrowing somebody else's money, so I might not have to tuck into my money straight away, which is good. So it keeps my money in the bank, which is accruing a little bit of interest, or, you know, peace of mind basically. But I have 28, or I have an X amount of time to pay it off, and I pay it off either straight away, or I pay it off when it gets, you know, when I need to pay it off. Also as well, it's a cashback credit card, so I get a tiny little amount every month. I think I earned £4 last month. Now, that's not much, it's a meal deal at this moment in time, but, well, I've got 2 credit cards, so if they both earn similar, at the end of the year, that maybe 4 times 12 times 2, maybe that's £100. Now that's £100 that I wouldn't have got by tucking into my savings and losing whatever interest I'm accruing. So you get what I mean. Now, I'm no Martin Lewis. Another thing as well is it's money that's not mine. So if I get frauded or something happens, the credit card will sort it, or hopefully I get more protection from them than if I am by myself, basically. So that's another reason for me doing that. Like I said, should you do it? Do your research. But what's happened is I'm getting a little bit of money back. I'm also getting, my credit score is going up, which is brilliant. You know, I think it's just ticking over to where it's going to be classed as good. You know, and my mindset on it has shifted. For me, I've got a good amount where if I needed a tool, I could buy that, and I've got X amount of time to pay it off, or X amount of time to sort of find the money. And that's what I've been doing to give me that pressure. Is I've had some big bills and I've bought some stuff, put it on that, and I know now I'm on a countdown to pay that off, which means that every job that I do is chinking away at it, just, you know, knocking a little bit off every single time. So that's forcing, well, it's not forcing me in a bad way, it's pushing me to take work on, but also be mindful of the work that I'm taking on, and also getting these jobs done that little bit quicker, more efficiently, you know, booking this work in quicker. Don't get me wrong, I'm still sticking to what I said, which is I want to have weekends off. I am tucking into this weekend, and maybe a little bit of next weekend, but at the end of the month we're going away for 4 days, so you know, I need to sort of put away for that. I think work smarter, not harder. But like I said, that's my take on it. Let me know how you guys sort of deal with pressures and stuff like that. As I said, I've just told you why I put myself under pressure, but it's all under my control. I don't like pressure. You know, for me in my business, if things start causing me pressure, I look at rooting them out. So if customers start getting where they're putting pressure on, they go. If, you know, I've got a piece of unreliable equipment, you know, I'll upgrade it, or I'll get rid of it, or sell it, or throw it away. You know, pick whichever one of them is applicable. If a job or you know, if the work that I'm doing I can no longer do, so it's like today I had a pampas grass. This customer's asked me to get this pampas grass up, and I've explained to him that I have to be careful with what work I do with a hernia, but I says to him, look, I'm just going to keep cutting it down. I'm going to keep, you know, I'm going to be really horrible to this pampas grass. You know, I'm going to do something to it every single time I go, with the intention. So what I've been doing is, for the past for probably 3 or 4 months, I've been cutting it right down, so it's not had a chance to leaf up at all in months. So I think that sort of finished it off. Another thing as well is I've been, every so often, I just get my shovel and I just go round it and lever it up a little bit, and again, so it's ripping whatever roots are out. You know, I feel sorry for it in a way. I've been a real shit to this thing, and I've managed to get half of it out with a tiny little bit of physical thing. I could have done that over time, or in one hit, and knackered myself up. So this is ticking this off for this customer. He's still getting results, but I'm still getting the work done. So I'm changing working practices to reflect in how I'm sort of doing my business. But, you know, if that customer would have been insistent that, Sam, this needs to go, this is, you know, whatever, I'm going to have to get somebody else, or I'm not happy, you know, because some people do draw a line on certain things. Well, it would have been that, but luckily he's understanding, and I'm able to do it in a way and manage it in a way where we're getting it done. So thanks for watching, guys. As usual, have a good day and keep on gardening.